Hi everyone. As you know, our class is all about caring for words. You may have heard a lot in recent years about the development of artificial intelligence platforms and how many people are concerned about the implications of AI for writing. Now, since we are a community that does care about words and stewarding words as an ethical practice, we will be talking about that in terms of how AI gets used in this class and beyond. Firstly, the intelligence part of artificial intelligence is a metaphor, but other possible ways of describing AI could be large language model or pattern recognition generator. Basically, AI systems recognize patterns in large bodies of data, usually language, and then generate similar combinations of words and sentences based on given prompts or constraints. They can therefore generate content quickly, but they are subject to the body of data available. Where that body of data is limited, the output will be limited as well. Consider the AI Jesus on Twitch, for example. This platform can respond to requests for information based on what is known about the teachings of Jesus. However, there are still ways that users manipulate the system's responses. Also, notice that the animated image that is used is very European or white presenting, when we know that the historical figure of Jesus was of Middle Eastern descent. This is a stereotypical or recognizable image precisely because of European aesthetics in art traditions over time that have influenced popular perception. While this image is not necessarily AI generated itself, it demonstrates the principle of how AI generated content that relies on bodies of data that already contain a bias can lead to new content that reinforces this bias instead of allowing for different approaches. As I was preparing for a juniors abroad trip to Peru in spring 2024, I had been consulting travel guidebooks, online forums for travelers, where they ask and receive for advice from the community, and YouTube videos where travelers shared and reviewed their experiences. I decided to ask a well-known AI generator, ChatGPT, to create an itinerary while visiting Lima, the capital city. The format of the itinerary that was generated looked similar to those created by travel agents and had typical information like times, locations, and the kinds of activities available. However, I had never heard of Miraflores Central Park in my other search methods. When I investigated, I found out it was simply another name for Kennedy Park, which already appeared earlier in the schedule for our itinerary. The itinerary looked how I expected an itinerary to look, sounded like how I expected an itinerary to sound, but familiarizing myself with the situation before asking for AI-generated content helped me to identify inappropriately repeated information that was being presented as something new and different. Also, because my original prompt was limited to the Miraflores neighborhood in Lima, the itinerary only identified one ancient pyramid within walking distance, when I actually discovered there are two. The second is just 10 minutes away from the first, in the San Ysidro neighborhood, several blocks from the official Miraflores boundaries. While I can use AI prompts to focus my search, as a human with an experience of living in the world, I know that destinations in nearby neighborhoods like this are reasonable, especially when they're ancient pyramids in the middle of a modern city. The information generated is therefore only as good as my prompt and what I know to ask for. In this case, attractions within walking distance in the Miraflores neighborhood. There are many reasons students shared with me that they have used AI for writing projects. Reason 1. To help me sound better. It's true that an AI platform may generate patterns of language and specialized vocabulary used by particular communities. But don't let that make you question the natural development of your own writing voice. Sometimes these bigger words create fluffy writing or writing that sounds unnatural to you, similar to how overusing a thesaurus just for the purpose of using more impressive words is sometimes less effective than directly and concisely stating something in your own words. The way people write in certain fields emerge from typical values and activities within those fields. So make sure to notice how people are writing rather than just adopting what they are writing wholesale through AI databases. Your own voice is valuable and your writing will mature through practice. You're not expected to sound like a professional in your field as a first-year student. Reason 2. to help me write my introduction and conclusion. Perhaps the introduction and conclusion of your project seem like formulaic obligations rather than the heart of what you want to say. However, the ability to notice and perform typical moves of writing in a particular genre and situation is a more transferable skill than just plugging in pieces or going through the motion at the beginning and end of your own writing on a project. This is where you are uniquely able to address your intended audiences. What background orientation does your audience need to understand your project? What should their major takeaways be by the end? Just like someone training in martial arts practices smaller skills like punching, kicking, and blocking regularly and consistently until they become second nature, transferability means being able to use these skills when called upon in real-world situations. Again, AI-generated content can help you identify patterns, so pay attention to these more so than just the content generated. Reason 3, to generate ideas or break through writer's block. Generating ideas can be a useful way to identify patterns of things that people have noticed in the past about your topic, or identify textual details like figures of speech within a specific passage of text. What you do with these identified patterns should push deeper and farther than what AI generates, though. For example, what are some pieces of specific evidence for each of the claims that you will be making? What does it mean, or what effects does it create for the reader that certain figures of speech are being used in a passage? For writer's block, make sure that you have given yourself enough time to think about the topic and find a way to personally engage with parts of the prompt that are interesting and meaningful to you. Scholars of writing have not only noticed benefits in learning to write, but using writing to learn. The connections you notice and communicate through organizing the information of your project for your audience usually helps you understand the topic more clearly. Reason 4, to get immediate feedback on my project. One former student told me that they asked for a section of work to be graded or given feedback as if from a professor. In this student's experience, the AI platform was better able to recognize features of writing the student was already using, rather than providing critiques of how to do better. From my own experience, I know that asking ChatGPT to write a poem and then asking ChatGPT to grade that poem resulted in a grade of a B. The AI-generated evaluation feedback explained that there is always room for improvement in any piece of writing. It did not give me specific ways to improve the poem. To get another perspective on your project, remember that you can always ask a friend or classmate to read your project, or make an appointment or drop in consultation at the Academic Resource Center, or the ARC. Reason 5, to do research on a topic. The biggest challenge with using AI to conduct research itself is that it can be hard to identify original sources of data and evaluate them. Remember that AI databases are several years old, so depending on your topic, it may also generate out-of-date information. Some students and professors have shared that an AI generator hallucinated a source that didn't actually exist. Keep yourself in the research process. You can use AI to help you refine your research questions, but follow the research inquiry for yourself. Evaluate and take responsibility for the sources of your information. The university librarians can definitely help you develop strategies to search actual research databases themselves, or use Google Scholar. Reason 6, to do the project for me. Are you using AI as a tool or as a source? If it's a source that you are quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing, MLA has conventions for how to cite AI generators as sources for in-text citations and in your Works Cited section, just like any other source. Copying and pasting large chunks of text from an AI generator without crediting your source is an academic integrity issue similar to other forms of plagiarism. If you run out of time to complete a writing project, it's better to communicate with your instructor than to turn in a highly AI-composed project. Writing, just like life, is always a process. And the tools of technology and literacy are always changing. So the most important thing is to always be remembering who is writing to whom, for what purposes, in what ways, and how does technology fit into the ethical ways that we write for, with, and about each other and the issues that affect us all. See you later, all.